and welcome to your Mitochondria Lab. At this point, you should have your lab packet and your group's instructions. We're going to model the procedures for you so you know what to do, but you'll need to reread the directions on this sheet as you perform each of the steps. Step 1 is to gather all of the materials except the string and ruler. Someone from your team should go get your equipment bin. Step 2 is to set up 3 test tubes in the test tube rack. Be careful if you're using the white plastic test tube racks, as if you lift it by the top, it'll come off. Step 3, you need to label the first test tube using the permanent marker and tape as control, your group number, and your period number on tape. Put the piece of tape up near the neck of the test tube. Step 4 is to label the second test tube with sugar, your group number, and your period number on tape. Step 5, label the third test tube as Splenda or sweetener, your group number, and your period number on a piece of tape. You'll then fill the beaker or get the beaker of hot water between 30 and 40 degrees Celsius. It also may be a flask. Some of your groups may already have yeast in one of the test tubes. If not, you'll go ahead and proceed with the directions with the empty control test tube. You'll need to, step 7, either pour or pipette to fill 12 milliliters of water. Put 12 milliliters of water into test tube 1. Then, if you've not yet added the yeast, you'll need to follow your teacher's directions for step 8. You'll add 1 packet of yeast, or follow your teacher's directions, to add the yeast to the control test tube. Then, follow your teacher's directions to either cover the neck of the test tube with your thumb or with your hand, and invert it multiple times to mix the yeast. If there seems to be a pocket of yeast, you'll need to shake and mix it up so that all of the yeast becomes mixed with the water. At that point, it should be a pale brown milky color. Step 9 is to move 1/3 of the yeast solution into test tube number 2. You can do that by pouring or pipetting. What we're doing is making sure we have an equal amount of the yeast solution in each of the test tubes. Step 10 is to move 1/3 of the yeast into the third test tube. At this point, for step 11, you should have an equal volume of yeast or amount of yeast solution in each of the 3 test tubes. Step 12 is to add 1/2 of a pack of sugar to your sugar test tube. Remember, you're only adding 1/2 of the pack. Step 13 is to add 1/2 of the pack of Splenda or sweetener to test tube 3. You'll then go ahead and add more warm water to each test tube, filling it approximately 4/5 of the way. As you do this, you can go ahead and wash any yeast that might be stuck to the side of the test tube down into the solution. In the video, I'm going to add background music right now.
I hate this stuff.
Step 15 is to cover the opening of each test tube with a balloon so that you can catch any gas that is formed.
You want to make sure that you get all of the air out of the balloon before you put it onto the test tube.
You'll pull the bottom of the balloon down the neck of the test tube, just a little bit. And then step 16 is you'll use another piece of tape to carefully cover the bottom of the balloon so that no gas can escape between the balloon and the test tube.
You might need to relabel with your marker.
Step 17 is to use the balloon to seal each end of the test tube, again by putting your finger or the palm of your hand over the opening, and to once again invert and mix so that all of the solution becomes mixed. That's day 1. You'll need to clean up your materials and follow your teacher's instructions for where to place your test tubes. We'll now wait a day. See you tomorrow.